Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thanks so much for coming on to speak about this very important subject. So first, take us back when you heard that your wife was pregnant. What were the kind of feelings you were going through?
Yeah, everything was planned. We had good jobs, a house, everything was planned. The pregnancy was fine, but obviously the labour was just terrible, if I'm honest. So after 22 hours labour, my wife was
22 hours.
Yeah, 22 hours labour. Doctors actually came in and said, your wife's got an emergency C-section. I honestly thought my wife was going to die and the baby was going to die. And it's the first time I actually ever had a panic attack in my life. I've never experienced any sort of panic attack.
And you had one there in the hospital?
Actually on the labour ward, yeah.
Wow. What was that like? What happened?
I didn't know what it was. I just, obviously my mother-in-law was there, and even think about it now, like, you know, it was you know, a traumatic experience for me at that time. Yeah. Because I felt helplessness. I honestly wanted to help my wife, and obviously I didn't know what was going on. So when you got 3 doctors coming in and explaining, you know, I just didn't know what was going on, really. And
obviously it's your natural instinct to protect her and to look after her, and then when it's like you feel like, oh my God, I can't do anything, and it's my wife there that's in pain, and my baby.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, you know, what I found, I just wanted to protect her at the time. And yeah, I honestly thought she was going to die, and obviously my baby at the time, So. Yeah.
So what happened after that? Obviously, they had the C-section, that was successsucessful. Yeah. How long were they both in hospital for?
Yeah, after 3 days, my wife went home, and instantly it was something wrong. She was very clingy, not the person I knew.
Clingy to who? To you?
She didn't want to leave her, and she felt, I just knew there was something wrong, you know. So obviously that went into postnatal depression, what I know now. But you know, she went from a person that was outgoing to she couldn't get to bed, look after the baby then, obviously. And
so you just saw like a complete change in her? She
absolutely,
like personal.
Yeah.
And she'd had no history of any mental health issues?
Nothing, no. I could tell in the eyes.
You hadn't either, had you?
Nothing,
before?
no, nothing whatsoever. I didn't know what depression was. If I'm honest, I was one of the people who thought, you know, how can anyone get depressed? You know, I was that sort of naive about mental health at that time, you know, because obviously in the field I was in a field at the time, motivation, all that stuff. So it was total shock, really. Total shock it was to me.
And what other things were happening with your wife at the time? What other symptoms did you see apart from her sort of being clingy, needy? Yeah,
she didn't think she was going to be a good mother. That was a big thing. You know, a woman who was actually used to manage, you know, a team, you know, 13 people. You know, she couldn't even open a bill, couldn't do the bills, concentration, everything was just playing a massive factor then. Obviously, the racing thoughts, you know, and you know, she just couldn't get out of bed. But in the 12 months, she was really good with my son, but she just felt that she couldn't be the mother she wanted to be. I think big expectation at the time. And
did she speak to you about everything, or did you just sort of just notice things?
It came emergency, and obviously it came to the point where my wife should have gone into a mother-baby unit. You know, she put, you know, but unfortunately it wasn't one there for us, and I wouldn't let her actually go on an acute ward, you know, with other, because I was I didn't know nothing. Like I said, it was a different world to me.
And were you still working at the time?
Well, I had to give up work then for 6 months then.
You gave up work?
So I look after my wife and then the baby. Then obviously money worries were starting to come in, and then couldn't tell my friends, couldn't tell everyone. You know, my personality was starting to change myself.
Why couldn't you tell your friends?
Well, 2004, we know it is a stigma now, it's still today, it's a lot better than it was then. But postnatal depression, I feel like everyone should be a happy time, you know, got a baby. And I was, you know, it didn't work out for us like that, you know.
So was it a case that you maybe everyone was expecting you to be happy, excited about the baby, so you kind of didn't want to actually say what was really going on? Yeah,
I think, like I say, when all the family comes in and they expect, you know, you've got to put a brave face on, you know, and I think with perinatal mental health is one of the worst, because everyone expects you to be happy, you know, a new baby come along, and like I said, it was all planned, but I think it was just a case of like, just over, you know, I just didn't know what it was, to be honest with you. I didn't.
Did you speak to each other?
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell my wife how I was feeling myself, because obviously I didn't want it to affect her mental health any worse. So as the months went on, after about 5-6 months, I was starting to get the suicidal thoughts then.
Really?
Yeah, so the point where I was walking down a street in Cardiff, and obviously I didn't make a plan to kill myself, but it was a thought I just wanted this agonising noise, and if a bus hit me, at least I won't have this this agonising thoughts go through my mind, like, so.
Wow.
And to point.
Was it like, could you not see a future though? Could you not see like?
It was a case
that
like.
It could be a solution to what you were going through.
It was just months and months, medication change, you know, the support we had was great from my wife, obviously. But it was every week, you know, when it was going to end, and that was the hardest part. Like, if I knew it was going to end in 6 months or 12 months, I could deal with it, but it was a case of it was rolling all the time. Yeah. I had to get back into work. I couldn't get back into work properly. Like I said, the money worries was a big thing, and, you know, going into using a credit card, and then also my personality started changing then.
In what way?
I remember once punching a sofa and then obviously busting my hand there, you know, and my friends noticed a personality change, but I couldn't tell them how I was feeling. I couldn't tell them about what was going on in the household as well, because obviously my wife was, you know, severe postnatal depression.
Did your friends not try to sort of speak to you and say, look, Mark, you know, we've noticed that you're different. Is everything okay?
No, I'll be honest, I didn't know nothing about mental health. I didn't realise until years later I was actually depressed, you know, because obviously, so if I didn't know, obviously, about mental health, surely they didn't expect to know, really, if I'm honest, like, you know. So, and from, yeah, it was just, that first 12 months especially was really hard time for us, you know. What
was your worst moment, would you say?
I think when for my personally, myself, I remember my mother-in-law actually witnessing me rocking in the chair. You know, I mean, I just couldn't control myself, you know, at that time. I was just more concerned about my wife at the end of the day. I just wanted my wife to be well. And then obviously, like anything, it's your loved one who's going through this illness. And, you know, that's all I cared about was my wife, you know, to actually be well. So I was concerned about her, but obviously I couldn't see an end of it. Obviously, I couldn't see an end of this, of the illness, really.
Yeah. Okay, well, then how did things change, Mark?
Well, I suffered, I wouldn't say changed at the time, I suffered for about 6 years really in silence, and it wasn't until another trauma happened in my life. Unfortunately, my mother had cancer, lost my grandfather, and then that affected my work, but then it resurfaced then, because I hadn't dealt with the problems before. It resurfaced this time, and I actually had a breakdown then in 2011 then. I remember the day, 6 months prior to that, obviously my drinking, that was my coping skill really. To the breakdown, for the years I coped with drink, even going for the postnatal depression. That was my coping skill really, you know, to drink when people didn't know. My mother-in-law came to live with us, which I was an experience, if I'm honest.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there. But like I said, I had a lot of family support as well, but, you know, so there's a lot of family support. But like I said, in 2011 was when it came to the point where my body just shut down. I was in a car. This achiness, this, you know, anxiety, which I know now. I couldn't concentrate. My mind was constantly racing. I couldn't stop it. And it was a point when I just picked up a phone. I think, if I'm honest, if it was my son, who knows what happened, you know, because my suicidal thoughts were really, really bad at that point then, you know. It was a point that I never made a plan ever. But it was I just couldn't get these suicidal thoughts out of my mind, really, you know. Okay. Couldn't see any future.
What would you say your worst moment was, Mark?
For me personally, was during 12 months was when my mother-in-law actually witnessed me rocking in a chair. You know, I just couldn't see any future, to be honest with you. I didn't know when she was going to get better, my wife. That's the main thing. I was all concerned about my wife. I just wanted her well. I think when it actually all came to a head in 2011 then, for years I suffered in silence. I didn't tell anyone I was really feeling. Couldn't tell anyone. And 6 months prior to, I remember just wanted to be sectioned really. You know, I just wanted to be, the suicidal thoughts, I think, prior to that was the worst part. But 2011.
What stopped you from taking your life?
I think it was, I think my son, if I'm honest. My son, obviously, I never wanted to take my life, actually. It was just the suicidal thoughts.
Because you couldn't see another way at the time.
I couldn't see any way out. You know,
when you just see this dark hole and you just don't see any, or there is light there really, but you don't think there is any. It's the most terrifying feeling, I know, because I've been there. Yeah. And it's just awful, but then there is always hope. Absolutely. And that's what I want to say to the people watching. You might feel the way Mark is describing right now, but it can actually be just a temporary feeling. It is a temporary feeling, and there is always help, there is always hope. But, you know, unfortunately, some people don't see that, and that's why they end up thinking that, well, I'm not going to live like this anymore. It's not like they want to die, they just don't want to live the way they're living anymore.
Exactly, and it's just the agonising thoughts, you know. I just wanted to... I think when my body was starting to shut down then, obviously, what I know now was I was having a breakdown. Like, you know, I just couldn't see anything. Like I said, the trauma from my mother's illness, my grandfather losing in his space 6 weeks. You know, they resurfaced then from not getting the help prior to that before, and they resurfaced. But yeah, the good thing was I remember it came to the point where I was probably the lowest I'll ever be. And I didn't care what anyone thought. I think one of the things I was always worried what people thought. You know, is it going to affect my workplace, my work thing? And when you're at the lowest point, it was just like, well, I just don't matter anymore. You know, I can't get any lower than this. And that's when I phoned my local charity, which I found on the phone in the car.
Right. And what was that like for you actually finally reaching out to someone?
Yeah, well, I was told to go to the GP and put a medication in at that time. And then I just suddenly understood, because like I said, I didn't know anyone who actually experienced mental illness before. So it was totally new, you know, people got it, like for instance, for the first time. And that was the first time. I wish now what I knew then in the car, that I actually sought help 6 years before. Because obviously what I know now is the best thing I ever done was actually getting out and getting the help.
Okay, and then how did you recover? Or are you still in the process of recovery?
Yeah, I was still obviously, you know, I was having more bad days and good days, and I gradually went with the medication started to help. And like I said, medication off everyone, it worked for me. And like I said, it was a case that I was at counselling, I went to counselling CBT, I was doing the mindfulness coping skills then. And then as the weeks went on, I changed my job then as well. Okay. So I worked in a hospital then, and yeah, so I think the turning point then was when I actually talked to a gentleman in the gym then, and we were in the gym side by side, and I said, do you mind if I bother with weights? And he said, yeah, my wife, I got to go to NHS prams, which I found out the CPN nurse that helped my wife set up NHS prams for women with postnatal depression.
Oh, okay.
And then I found out he actually had a breakdown. And he lost his business, a house, after looking after his wife as well. And I thought, how was this happening in 2011? So I Googled and I found out. And when I was talking to Brian, I never told anyone how I was really feeling. I connected with this gentleman side by side, and he was telling me things that he hadn't told other people as well. And it was the first time that...
he spoke to the right person,
yeah,
didn't
first
he?
the right person. It was just by luck. And then I went on to set up Fathers Reaching Out then, which was just to support fathers with their partners or wives with postnatal depression. But
so you saw that there wasn't really much.
It was nothing there.
There was nothing there
in 2011. And same as Brian, nobody asked me how was a father coping with, you know, because at the end of the day, like I said, these fathers are looking after their partners, you know, and some of these fathers got mental illnesses before actually, you know, becoming fatherhood. So it's a massive strain on the family as well. So
tell us more about the organisation then that you set up.
Yeah, well, like I said, at the end of 2011, I set up, and then from telling my story, my lived experiences, it just went mad. It did really, and then I was involved in obviously television, radio. I've been lucky to be on the Pride of Britain Awards, Inspiration Father Year, you know, Mind Media Awards and all this stuff. So from a negative time in my life, I've actually turned it into a positive now, and I've actually been asked to speak in Australia and New Zealand and all around. So I'm a public speaker now. I've got a book coming out now next year as well, which is under publisher now. So like I said, from a negative point, it's actually turned into positive, and that's what I think I want to get the message across. You know, all these people with so much lived experience, they've got so much experience to give into mental health as well. So
what does it feel like for you from coming from that very dark place to now being able to help others? Yeah,
still obviously, you know, I've learned more about mental illness, and just by helping one person, you know, it's been one of the best things I can imagine.
You've helped a lot more than one, haven't you?
yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, and I think you know, fathers' mental health is it's not talked enough. Like, I'm trying to campaign now for the NICE guidelines now as well, because they might get the father actually put on the NICE guidelines. I've launched International Father's Mental Health Day, which is the day after Father's Day as well.
Amazing.
So that's next year going out, and also Dad's Hour, so on Twitter. So we're trying to get fathers actually engaging and talking, and like I said, a lot of fathers actually suffer from anxiety, postnatal depression. As is research, I was 1 in 10 actually, 1 in 10 at least. Because I think after 12 months, that's postnatal period, a lot of fathers using negative coping skills, you know, and like the bond and attachment with a father is such an important time. So if a father is unwell, obviously that's going to affect that, you know, the child's life as well. So it's such important.
Definitely. Mark, thank you so much for coming on to speak about this. I'm sure you're going to touch lots of people today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show.